Donald Trump taps tech entrepreneur David Sachs to guide America's development of AI and cryptocurrencies. Iowa Senator Joni Ernst could be standing in the way of Pete Hegseth's Secretary of Defense confirmation. And we'll give you the definitive Christmas list that aligns with your values. We have those stories and so much more. Blaze News Tonight starts right now. Welcome to the chaos. I'm Jill Savage. Today is Friday, December 6th. Donald Trump is making bold moves ahead of his return to the White House and tapping David Sachs as his AI and cryptocurrency czar. Sachs is a Silicon Valley heavyweight, and he's been tasked with safeguarding free speech online and bringing much needed clarity to the crypto world. But will he follow through? Here to break it all down for us is Matthew Peterson, editor-in-chief of Blaze News, and Blaze TV host of 0 Hour, James Poulos. So, James, let's dive into cryptocurrency and the entire world that we're seeing right now. The Trump transition team has been pretty good thus far. What's your opinion here of David Sachs taking this role?
Yeah, so, this is a guy who's been around the block. He knows all the players. This is a huge portfolio, AI and crypto, including Bitcoin and things that run all the way down to Hawk to a coin or whatever that was. It's a whole lot of stuff to get your arms around. It's going to be a challenge for anyone, but I think David Sachs is a guy who welcomes that challenge. And, the link between them, I think I would say, is that there's a view of AI that says these are going to be machines that are going to be interacting with each other in ways that are going to have financial value attached to them. And so there's your interface with something like Bitcoin. So it's a lot to tackle, but I think, he's going to be ready to do it.
What would you particularly like to see from him in this role? I mean, what are the things that just, you think would be essential, ideally, for him to grab onto?
Sure. I mean, there's an offense and there's a defense component. And some people say that the best defense is a good offense, but sometimes you don't really have that option, and you got to be ready for the attacks to come because they're already coming over the horizon. So there are going to be corporate interests, bureaucratic interests, international organizations, non-governmental organizations, a host of baddies who want to ensure, as much as is in their power to do so, being out of the White House, that AI can't flourish, that you can't have a robust market for artificial intelligence, and that the distance between the average American and artificial intelligence is as wide as they can make it. They couch all this in terms of AI safety. On the other hand, yes, you've got some excessively ebullient people in tech who think that this is going to solve everything, make all of our problems go away, make politics go away. Well, in the middle is something called courage. And what we need is the courage to use these machines correctly and figure out how to make sure that that is an opportunity that Americans have access to. So Sachs is going to have to just put up a robust defense against those interests from sidelining the president's agenda. Now, if you're talking about going on offense, yeah, we need something like a digital bill of rights or something that might even rise to the level of an amendment. That seemed pie in the sky before. Now that we've got people in the federal government who are open to it, I think we might be able to get a federal constitutional amendment where things like mining Bitcoin, using Bitcoin, having access to AI, developing your own companies, things that you would associate with America in normal world, in the before times. We can bring those times back, and we should have that commercial and cultural access to those technologies, just like we have with electricity or whatever else. So things like that, I think that's part of the offense, but you got to be ready for the attacks that are coming.
The previously mentioned Hawk to a coin set aside for the rest of this discussion. I look at just everybody in the crypto world was very excited when Donald Trump was actually elected to come in because they knew they had this sense of optimism around the entire space. So what do you see now, just as the state of the world, if you were in that crypto world, what do you think is kind of the state of the union right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's face it. Bitcoin has reached 100K and dipped down. People sell out was to be expected, and now it's back up over 100 as of this instant. Whatever else you make of it, it's a powerful signal. It's a market signal. It's a financial signal, and it's an indication that this is more than just digital gold, which is how people, even still a lot of people at the top, like to talk about it. It is a universal technological field. It is kind of like a source of valuation that you can connect up almost anything to. And so when you look at blockchain technology, and yeah, Bitcoin has its issues. It's departed from what it once was, but it hasn't been ruined yet. You can build stuff on top of it, but I would argue that it's really about block size, and you got to figure out how to get as many people as possible in this country to actually use the technology as you can. And so the opportunity to do that remains. The stakes are very high. If Americans are alienated from their technology and don't understand how to use the fundamentals of a new financial system, they're going to feel like they aren't really Americans anymore. So a lot of promise. Pretty good foundations, still a lot of work to be done, and a regulatory environment that is ripe for just slashing away that red tape.
So, I mean, when you think back to the Bitcoin conference in Nashville, this year, we sent Peter Giedel, right? He was there. There was a lot of rejoicing when Trump appeared. Really, it looks like everything that was desired is happening, right? I mean, it's happening. I mean, meme is this is what's going on. This is what's going on now, though. So I don't know, if there's any unforeseen, potential large obstacles, but it does look like, yeah, they're going to slash away, right? And they're going to open this up. And then I wonder what we would see from those who are promoting, say, Bitcoin to reach the rest of the populace. I mean, in other words, like if the floodgates are open and there is defense against the sort of attackers, what will we see in a positive way this year, do we think?
I mean, there's a lot of reason for excitement, and what has happened since the election, these things are necessary, but they're not sufficient. The point of all this activity, as far as I'm concerned, is to make sure that Americans can do what Americans do best within the confines, which are, you got to have some confines, and our constitutional framework supplies those while also giving us a lot of room to roam about the cabin. Things have to stay that way even as the technology changes. So for the tech guys out there who are thinking, oh no, this is great, mortality going to be solved, politics, we won't need it anymore, Constitution, what are you talking about? We're going to be like gods, we're going to be like angels traveling at the speed of light and sharing collective we need to set that stuff at least on the back burner at a minimum, and focus on the pressing needs that ordinary Americans and our regime have right now. We got to heal those things up, and then maybe we can talk about, figuring out which superpowers we might want to have or not have. So it's easy to get carried away with the kind of hyper optimism or the accelerationism. But we got to remember, like before deindustrialization, Americans just inventing things that they found advantageous to increasing their flourishing, that was the norm. And that has really slowed down. And a lot of the invention, a lot of the research and development has been taken out of the hands of ordinary people and moved into mega corporations that really function as part of the federal government, which, that's, to some people, that would be a dictionary definition of fascism, maybe a story for another day. But we got to return technology to the hands of the American people. That is job number one.
Well, there's been a lot in the news recently with debanking, right? And Operation Choke Point. And there's a story out from Coinbase that was saying the FDIC letters say that U.S. banks were trying to keep people out, specifically of cryptocurrencies and all the like. So there's so much good going on right now. Again, this is an older story looking backwards at what had previously happened. Can you take us through just the updates here that we've seen?
Well, sure. I mean, I think the big story is that there was a more or less organized debanking campaign, which was targeting specifically guys who are at the center of crypto innovation with the major crypto companies. Melania was debanked. It was you look on the surface and you don't really see what's going on, but under the surface, all kinds of stuff was going on, and we're beginning to see evidence, and maybe not necessarily a smoking gun, but there's a whiff of cordite is in the air. So that's part of it. Another part of it is what went down with the actual banking system. You look at Silicon Valley Bank and why it is that went down, who was making the decisions that led to the quote unquote collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, and then how that ricocheted through the rest of the financial system. First Republic Bank, a bank that was not in any kind of distress or danger whatsoever, suddenly you flip a switch, it belongs to Chase. Of course, First Republic Bank customers will know that they were promised nothing would change, we'll just port you right over, it's all going to be fine. And now that's all being sunsetted and it just goes into the Chase Borg. So there are a couple different pieces of this puzzle here, but all in all, I mean, what we're discovering is there was a concerted effort, whether it was ordered from the top, we don't quite know yet, but big players at the top of the establishment were working overtime to do their very best to stop crypto from being a viable industry, which is, just directly against free market principles and the rule of law.
Yeah, Chase always gets the first dibs, Peterson. It's the rules. It's the unwritten rules of banking.
It's the rules, yes. Banks, banking, not good, Bob. So when we look at this debanking thing and we look at about how they're anti-crypto, I mean, there's obviously I think most people could see without knowing anything about anything that there's a self-interest motive, right? They're used to doing business one way and they don't want to do business another way. But it strikes me that, we need to talk about the motive behind this. Like, why is the government so opposed? It's worth saying explicitly, why is the government so opposed in pushing these banks to stay away from crypto? What's the fear?
Yeah, I think if you ask the people who consider themselves to be the adults in the room, they would say this is just about money laundering and crypto is all about money laundering. And then you look at what the federal government actually does, and you look at how Hunter Biden, sort of bounced back and this too is money laundering. If you are looking for money laundering, you're probably going to find it. And what I think is really going on with the crypto industry is, sure, it's exposing people to a little more market risk, but the financial system that we have now is so rigged that the people at the top have open access to huge investment opportunities that those who are not quote unquote accredited investors do not have access to. So the deck has been stacked against the ordinary American for a long time in the financial system. And what Bitcoin and some of these other cryptocurrencies hold out is the opportunity for people who are not currently rich to become rich. And the people who are already rich and have sort of circled up in DC, they don't want new entrants. They want to keep those people out. They want to make it as hard as possible to get wealthy fast in America. They want to bottleneck that process. So far, they've been very effective at doing that. And crypto and Bitcoin, these are things that have really fundamentally called that strategy into question, probably for the first time in our lives.
And it sounds so anti-American, right? Like, this is what you want. You want people to be able to go from being poor to becoming rich in America. It's an American dream. I want to ask you, as we just have a little couple minutes left here, what are you most looking forward to in the crypto space going into 2025?
Gosh, I'm looking for, I think two things. And one is, whether it's a state level or federal level, there are guys talking about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. There's an argument for that. I'm not here to debunk the argument. I am here to say that if everyone just focuses on holding the Bitcoin and watching the number go up, that's not really American free market principles at work. That is sort of like a kind of Buddhist idea of we all go sit up on the hill and wait for enlightenment to arrive, and then we live in paradise. That's not really America. So you want to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve? I get it. I've bought some Bitcoin, buy some if you want, but it's all about use. And if Americans aren't using this thing together to create algorithmic markets, to protect their way of life, to strengthen their form of government, and yes, to even prove that human beings can rule the most powerful algorithms, the most powerful protocols, that's all essential. And so what I'm looking for, in addition to some kind of reserve or approach that moves America's strategic financial footing away from the Federal Reserve, let's say it, more and more people are saying it, talking about Ron Paul. Yes, that window has been opened, and that's good and that's fine. But Americans need to be using the most powerful technologies that they have access to and using them in ways where we can be disciplined, we can be courageous, we can be thoughtful, and we can do things that are fruitful instead of just letting the numbers and the machines run wild.
All I want for Christmas is we can start with auditing the Fed, but then ending the Fed, right? Like, we can get there. That's on my Christmas list.
A two-step.
I want a few Bitcoins, just a few.
Just a couple?
3 or 4 would be good.
Oh, that's fine.
Great place to start.
We'll add it to your Christmas list. I can't say that you're going to get that, but James, thanks so much for coming in today. When we come back, we'll unpack how one senator could prevent Pete Hegseth from leading the Pentagon. Just ahead. This Christmas, don't settle for anything less than the best on your table or under your tree. Good Ranchers is here to bring you the gift of high-quality, 100% American meat that's sure to make your holiday unforgettable. Right now, during their Christmas special, you can subscribe to any of their meat boxes and get a free 10-pound spiral-cut holiday ham to complete your feast. So whether it's for your family gathering or as a gift, this is the kind of holiday cheer that everyone will love. And speaking of gifts, Good Ranchers has a brand new gifting page you can because who wouldn't want a box of premium steaks delivered right to their door? There's no stress, no guesswork, just amazing food guaranteed to impress. This Christmas, skip the lines at the grocery store and give the gift a flavor you can trust. Visit goodranchers.com, use my code Jill, and claim your free spiral cut ham while supplies last. Make this holiday truly special with Good Ranchers. Goodranchers.com, American meat delivered. The establishment is working hard against Trump picks for Pete Hegseth for defense secretary, and it's currently being led by Senator Joni Ernst. Now, sources close to the Senate confirmed to Blaze News that Ernst has been actively lobbying against his nomination. So will the establishment succeed in kicking Hegseth to the curb? Here to discuss is Parler CEO Ryan Rhodes. Ryan, it's so good to see you. Last I saw you, we were both at Trump headquarters down there on election night celebrating the victory, and so much has happened between then and now. So as we look at all of these nominees that come forth, right, it feels like it's the establishment versus MAGA. And this one in particular, let's dive into Joni Ernst going against Hegseth. How do you see this playing out?
Well, look, I think there's a lot of jockeying up on Capitol Hill, obviously, but I think the fact is, like, Hegseth is out there. We're going to need to cut. You're not going to be able to Doge if you don't start doing something at the Pentagon. Their budget is absolutely massive. So if we're going to be able to do both, we need somebody willing to do that, okay? So if you're stopping the main guy doing that, when you voted for Lloyd Austin, when you voted for these other people, then it's about time to push back. That's why I don't think she has gone full-throated publicly against him. I think there's this kind of dance that's going around, and I do think she's going to want something out of it. But at the end of the day, I do think she's going to come around, even if it's just being worried about a potential primary, whether that could be Brenna Findley, Whitaker. I know Steve Deace has floated it himself, the Blaze's very own. But I mean, I think it's, if you're going to start stopping the nominees, we can't they got one scalp, they don't get any more.
Ryan, it's good to see you again. Do you think that there's a trend here that we can we take a larger point out of this? Because this strikes me as something that in the past would be much more normal, but I sense that there's a lot more attention being paid to this sort of thing right now. Does that make sense?
Look, they got to talk about something. And the fact is, for instance, right now, we've seen Kash Patel is probably going to fully clear through there. And I think that's that's surprising to some. If you know Kash, it's probably not, because once you get in a room with him, you realize he is very competent, very there, and very much in for this job to clean out that. So the other people they were trying to target, what they're trying to do is take other low-hanging fruit, or go try to Kavanaugh someone because they have this one little thread to pull on, okay? And then they want to go and turn it into something else, right? But if you give up Hegseth, then all of a sudden it's not going to be just him. Then they're going to turn their fire on Kash and RFK and the others. At this point, you have to go and you have to let him go and push, do his fighting, let him out there. People also should realize that what he did in Kabul, he's a two-time Bronze Star medal winner. I mean, this is not just some random person that they want to make him out to be, and so it's an interesting dynamic here, and I think Joni herself had also kind of wanted the DOD position as well. So I think you're looking at different stuff that's all playing factors into this.
Well, Ryan, you mentioned Doge. It's the talk of the town. Everybody wants to be on board with Doge now. And Molly Hemingway, she's editor-in-chief of Federalist. She actually posted online, listen, everybody's out there wanting to be a part of Doge. But then she said that Chip Roy got up in a room with people and said that everybody, it sounds great, but you have to start being honest with yourselves. He said 2/3 of the room, including many of the speakers, have voted for the omnibuses, the CRs, the supplementals that have this completely out of control bureaucracy that is harming the country. So he said they've met the enemy, and it's standing right there in the auditorium with them. So it feels like this is the moment where people are starting to stand up and say, okay, if you actually want the change in Washington, D.C., the people in that room are going to have to change. How likely is that?
Well, it's going to take a blunt instrument. I mean, what we've seen is Trump's going to go out there. Okay, this is kind of the FAFO, if you will. Not to put that on air, but it's like they're going to go. They're testing it. You see Joni testing it. You see these others. Okay, at some point, Trump's going to have to put his thumb down. Elon's going to go put his boot in somebody, and they're going to go, okay, well. You want, if you want to be the first scalp, be the first scalp. That's why I don't think they're. I think a lot of these people are going to pull back, but the American people voted for this cut. Elon got on stage, RFK got on stage, Vivek got on stage. They were actively campaigning and saying, this is what we're going to do. It was live on Twitter. It was on the biggest podcast in the world. You can't say the people didn't vote for this overwhelmingly. And I think that should terrify the congressmen and senators. And for the most part, I can tell you from meetings I've had here, it is scaring enough of them to start doing the right thing. But there is that small contingent hanging on that says we want to stop this, and they don't do it under the guise that they want to stop it. They say, oh, we need smart cuts and smart growth and all. No, we need to start eviscerating government.
Okay, but let's push on it a little bit more. I mean, to be fair, right? I mean, since World War II ended, conservatives have been talking about rolling back government, and every single Republican president has, in fact, failed to do what they're talking about now. So the cynic would say, that's great that these, these lovely guys in tech, they're very smart, they have no idea how politics works, and they're coming in and they're going to say, that we need to do all these great things. Great. This sounds like what conservatives have been saying for, 40, 50 years. So what makes us think that it's going to happen now? Now, that's the cynic, not me, right? But devil's advocate, what do we say to that?
Look, in a different world, I would say 100% be cynical, but cash, like you look at cash, you look at these people he's appointing. Okay. Mm-hmm. RFK has one singular mission. Trump goes out there and goes, you get America healthy, but don't touch our oil, right? And so he's very much purposeful on that. Okay, you don't appoint cash to the FBI unless you want to fix the FBI. Okay, you don't appoint Pete Hegseth, who has talked about destroying the woke agenda in the military, unless you want to do it. Okay, you don't go and put the people over the Department of Education. You're not having the discussions about eliminating these things unless you really want to do it. So at this point, I will say it's not actually even on Trump, because Trump is giving us what we want. It's just like the Supreme Court. It's not on him at this point. He's giving it to us. It's on us to be like, these are the people that we brought up. If they're not going to do it, then who is? Then we have to go have a deeper look at our movement, because Trump is giving us 100%. Well, almost 100% of what we want, right? There's going to be a few arguments on whatever nominee, but we're getting almost wholesale rule. And so he's giving it to our people. So if we don't do it, then we have a problem with our people, and we have to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, it is certainly much more good than bad that we're getting from the Trump administration right now. So when you look at this and you lay that all out, what do you expect to see in the first 100 days from the Trump administration?
I mean, I think it's more of like, what are they going to do? I mean, it's going to be, I think, drinking from a fire hose. I mean, Elon seems very serious. I mean, at the end of the day, he got tied in with the Babylon Bee. He's serious enough. He bought Twitter and he changed it. Okay, like overnight, totally changed the social media landscape. All of this stuff, and has gone out there. Okay. If you take a guy like that, he doesn't need to care. Like threaten me with money, he said. Okay, well, screw you. And so I don't think he has to worry. Oh, what are you going to be, a government employee? You think you're going to go and look at my Twitter profile? Oh, good for you. Great. Gone. I just don't think he cares. And I think it all kind of started with, like, this is a personal axe. I mean, they came after his son and transed his kid. And all of a sudden it's like, we're on a war path and I'm the richest man in the world, So I think you have that. I think you have Vivek. And I do think in Vivek's case, he does want to run. JD wants to run. You don't go to run for president or to be vice president if you don't want to go higher. So all of a sudden you have people that have vested interests in going and cutting and making the case that they should be the next guy, because we only have 4 years. So Trump will never be a lame duck because there's always going to be people in his administration competing to be the next guy, right? Where DeSantis was trying to get stuff daily, okay? Well, Vivek's going to go out there. Vivek's going to go out there and try to be in the news daily. JD's going to try to be out there in the news daily. Other people who have political aspirations, it's almost going to be like a fight to the finish of who's going to be able to do more. That's why I'm very bullish on this.
All right, two final quick questions for you. Do you think that Hegseth eventually will be confirmed as the Secretary of Defense?
Unless there's something else that is out there, yes, I do. I think that they are going to go and they're going to come to terms and there's going to be some deal, and Trump is good at the deal. As long as Hegseth keeps fighting, yes, I do think he will be confirmed. If there's something out there that we don't know about, which is hard to say because they are like hammering him, and they, if there was something else out there, I think we would know it. But if not, I think we're looking at it. I also think that he went in and there's more people of his old PR apparatus that are finally like jumping to the table that I think they should have probably been a little more prepared for in Pete's case himself ahead of time. But he's ready to fight. He is a fighter. He is a warrior, and he's going to transform the DOD, I think, and stop this wokeness, this transing of the military, these embarrassing pullouts of Afghanistan and other places.
Well, and then more or less important, depending on the fan base, is Iowa State going to make the college football playoff?
You know what? Let's put it on the line. Yes, Iowa State is going to beat Arizona, and they're going to go. But yeah, so.
All right, Ryan Rhodes, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Lovely.
I love that he said, like Donald Trump is giving us what we want. And if it's not, what it's going to be like this time around, then we do have to go back to the drawing board, because this is the chance. This is what everybody got so excited about, was the opportunity to see a lot of these nominees.
Yeah, I mean, I think his answer is a good one. It's like, look at the people that he's putting in there. These are people who are committed to doing the thing, and Elon is obviously committed. So we will see, but. It's not as if, again, the devil's advocate position is not as if the obstacles aren't up till now insurmountable, right? So the main thing that he's pointing to is where there's a will, there's a way, and there certainly is a will with some of these people, with Trump and with some of the tech bros. So that is the first step, and cautious optimism is warranted. Maybe even more than cautious optimism. We can be happy a little bit. It's almost Christmas, right?
Let's ride the happiness vibes all the way through. It's the best time of the year. And when we come back, our next guest will explain why the suit does make the man or the woman. Next. Our country has no shortage of social and cultural issues and no surplus of solutions. But what if in one change in the way that workers dress, we could actually go back on the right track? O.W. Root is a style writer and recently wrote a piece for Blaze News on the need for America to bring back dignified work uniforms. And he joins us now to discuss. So, O.W., can you lay it out for us? Let's start with how America actually lost this in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of this stuff, whether it's clothing, whether it's manners, whether it's decorum, whether it's following any kind of general societal rules, it just sort of slips away. It just sort of starts going a little bit, and no one really says anything because no one wants to seem like an annoying person who says something. And then it kind of just gets worse and worse and worse. And I noticed this one a couple years ago. I was in the grocery store, and I noticed the terrible uniforms they had to wear. Just some dumb graphic t-shirt with some stupid design on the back. And I thought, if I was stacking or stocking these cans, whatever, I would hate this. I would hate what I was wearing.
Was it the movie Office Work where they had to flare? They wear the flare in the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. But what kind of uniforms are we talking about? Like, what's an example that you would say is a dignified work uniform?
Well, it just has to be simple. Just imagine dark shoes, dark pants, light shirt with a collar. That's it. You don't have to wear something that's super uncomfortable. If you look at pictures of the old days, when guys looked decent working, they didn't have skin tight clothes on. They really weren't tight at all. They had a lot of room in the arms, a lot of room in the legs. And I mean, you can see this in these images right here. They weren't constricted at all. They could move their arms. They were comfortable. But that collar, the buttons, a dark pair of pants, on a light shirt, and dark shoes, I mean, that right there just changes so much.
Listen, I'm with you on a lot of things, but as a millennial female, if you start coming for my skinny jeans, we are going to have an issue. I don't care if they're out of style, guys. I love them. You know what? Like, let's go through some practical tips though of how to bring this back, because I've said it before on your feed on X, right? You post a lot of these photos, and it makes you feel better when you do see the old style, right? And it might just be we're thinking back to a different time frame in general, but that is the power of what your clothing can do.
Yeah, this is something that a lot of people struggle with. They say, oh, I want something that's more dignified. I want something that's stronger. I want a better uniform, but they're conflicted about the looking backward thing, the past thing. You're not going to be able to get rid of this past foundation. You're going to have to build on that. And so draw inspiration from those old photos. And how can it be done? Without a uniform, just each one of us, if you just stop wearing a shirt without a collar and start wearing a shirt with a collar, that right there is all of a sudden a huge change. I mean, a shirt with a collar changes everything. In a shirt with buttons changes everything. The distance between that and a graphic tee is like the distance between a prisoner's uniform and the uniform for someone who's actually free. And that's the thing that's kind of interesting, is a lot of the uniforms, or what people voluntarily wear, are like prison uniforms.
Yeah, it's interesting how, military is a great example of this, right? Because any military has always recognized the importance of uniforms, but it's something that we've long forgotten, the reason for it existing at all. And I think of a lot of blue collar jobs where you'd have your name written on a uniform that you can't get dirty. Which still exists in this country. Such things still exist even today. But when you think about this, what do you think are the worst examples today? Is it just not really having a uniform at all? Or is it just, it's not differentiated enough? Like, what are some bad examples?
I would say the worst example to me is if you have to wear a uniform that is a t-shirt and it's stupid. Mm-hmm. Meaning you have to wear the store t-shirt and whatever the name of the store is, Smith's. But then, they'll do these things where they try to have fun, and they'll have a graphic on the back, something, whatever it's about, some event, some whatever. But what you have to wear is something that's just sort of dumb. That's just sort of silly, just sort of stupid. That's just that I wouldn't even let my kids wear. I mean, who wants to wear that? I mean, when you start talking about the dignity of the worker, it sounds like you're whatever, But the truth is, everybody needs dignity. And if I was having to stock shelves wearing some stupid uniform, I'd hate it. And I'd say, I hate this job and I hate this uniform I have to wear.
Well, Christmas is right around the corner. We are all getting in the Christmas spirit here. So I want to know some of OW Root's best Christmas styling tips. What should people be doing this holiday season?
Here is the key. A lot of people say, oh, I want to do the ugly sweater thing. I want to do the goofball thing.
Shocking.
Okay.
Shocking that you don't like that. Shocking.
So if you want to do that, okay, I'm not going to say you can't do it. But look what I'm wearing here. It's a nice red stripe. It makes a nod to the season. And, if you play with colors in the right way, a red shirt or green socks or something like that, colors are a good way to make a nod to the season, and they're pieces that are good on their own. They stand on their own. And so if you play with color using pieces that stand on their own, it will feel seasonal. It will feel like a nod and an homage without feeling just goofy and sort of like a shtick.
OW Root, we love it. We feel more stylish every time you come on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Matthew, I think it's an important point, because it goes to the complete essence of who we are, and how you present yourself to the world does matter.
Yeah, well, his point is it changes how you feel about yourself. It changes how you feel about what you're approaching and what you're working on. And that's his point about the work uniform. And, I'm the kind of person who doesn't want these things to be true. I would like to be, a rebel on this, but I've just learned over time he's absolutely right, and we're just made a certain way as human beings, and we've really forgotten some old truths that are simply true about us. And he's right. Like, you will feel better as a human being when you dress to the occasion and dress in respect to those other human beings around you. And whether you want it to be true or not, it's true. So that's why we got to talk about it.
Absolutely. And we're going to keep the Christmas cheer going because we have the definitive non-woke Christmas list for your loved ones coming up next. We know that your red pill family and friends can be tricky to buy for, but fear not, because Hilary Kennedy, she's the host of 4 Minute Buzz, she has a Christmas list that won't give a dime to corporations that hate you. She joins us right now. So, Hilary, where can we buy presents to keep the woke out of our stockings this year?
I'm so excited about this because it is the most wonderful time of the year, and a time where we can really put our dollars towards something that we care about, that we believe in, and like you said, not give to people that hate us. And so first, before I run through the list of gifts, because I have a lot of them, I want to say it would be great this Christmas or Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate this year, if you would consider buying things from people who have been affected by Hurricane Helene. There are so many of those businesses that are really hurting, and a lot of them just trying to get back up and running. But so many of them have an online presence. So if we could highlight some of those, that would be great. So I'm going to mention a few here, but just so that we know, it's about 7.3% unemployment in Asheville, North Carolina alone. That's really high. 15% of the people that work in hospitality have lost their jobs this season. So it'd be great if we can remember those people. So I will tell you when it's a North Carolina business, but I want to start off with family gifts. This is something the whole family can enjoy. A 1-year subscription to the UFC Fight Pass.
You're a big UFC girl.
Big
Everybody
UFC
knows
fan.
this.
So many conservatives are UFC fighters. Dana White, Big Buddy
big
with Trump.
overlap.
Yes. So for $99, you can get an annual pass, or if you don't want to spend quite that much, you can spend $14.99 and get a 2-month pass. But you can watch all the UFC fights going all the way back to the very first.
That was
She is
not what I
ready.
expected
So-
as the first gift, I have to say. Amazing.
Very unique, very good, right? Okay, so then also American-made cryptocurrency is a good gift because crypto
Hello.
is blowing up, going to the moon.
Hilary.
So Ripple, Solana, and Cardano, all American-made cryptocurrencies.
Oh, I know.
That makes a unique gift.
Peterson has to hear about it all the time.
He's like, I can't get
We are
away
2
from
for
it.
2 right now, Peterson.
I'm going to
We're
start doing
well.
full disclosure on some of your reporting, Jill.
I didn't even tell her. She has no clue.
All right, and then something that is a little more for the tea lover in your life, people that like food and beverage. There's a company called Piper and Leaf. It's in Alabama. They make teas from like their local gardens, their briar patches, things like that. But it's just a small Christian family-owned business. And I have been drinking their tea for the last year, and it's delicious. It is wonderful. So it's $12 if you want to get a bag of loose leaf tea, and you can make, I think, 15 cups with it. So anyways, it makes a
Nice
great
gift.
gift for people that like tea in your life. And they also have boba teas as well. And then American Giant, I know we talk about them a lot here on this network because we really believe in their products. They're so good. And in fact, I brought one of my favorite American Giant shirts. So I've had this for 3 years. I have washed it 1 billion times, and it has held up so incredibly well. The quality is fantastic. So American Giant, their hoodies, they're around $138. So it's an investment piece. But like I say, the t-shirts I think are around $50.
They last.
They
so long.
last.
They last so well.
They're not going to fall apart. And also you're just helping create jobs for people in a lot of small towns, for factory workers. You're keeping the money here in America. So I think that's also a great.
Yeah. What do we have for kids?
Okay, so for kids, there's nothing more American than sports cards, baseball cards, and Topps, of course, has been an American favorite forever. So the great thing about sports cards is you can go through and look for valuable cards that you can sell, you can flip. I mean, it's just a fun kind of scavenger hunt for both kids and adults. So I think that's a fun one. And then also for kids, there is a company called Green Toys, and they make toys from recycled milk jugs. And I brought one that my son has had for 5 years. My son has destroyed every toy that he owns, but this sucker has remained strong and durable. I took it out of the backyard this afternoon. Anyway, they have everything that kids love to play with. Indoor toys, outdoor toys, bath toys. They're eco-friendly. They're completely safe, but they have trucks, construction vehicles, bath toys, all that. So greentoys.com.
We have a lot of readers at Blaze, and I know that you have some goodies on your list for them.
I do. Well, and if you have a child, like a teen or a tween that reads, there's a young adult novel that was written by our own Glenn Beck and Michaela Hedrick called Chasing Embers. Really good.
It is very good. I read it myself. It's like the Hunger Games almost. It feels like that.
Yes, it's a very modern kind of take on that dystopian society.
But with good values and messages in it.
Yes.
So your kids, it's something you will want
It's
them
hopeful.
to read.
Yes, it has great reviews. And then also Propaganda Wars by our own Glenn Beck, also a great read. And if you want to purchase that book, rather than purchasing it from Amazon and giving them more of our money, you can order it from a bookstore in Asheville, North Carolina called malaprops.com and support their recovery after Hurricane Helene. Also, American Inheritance. It's a novel by Nathan Nipper, also one of our Blaze friends. Great book. And then let's talk about sentimental gifts, because I know some of us like to give a romantic gift or a thoughtful gift. There's a company called Fracture. The website is fractureme.com, but you can get a digital photo printed onto glass, and it's beautiful. And you can take any photo and do that, and they start at $21.
I've seen that with like signatures at the bottom of glasses as well. Like my cousin's getting married, and I'm like, oh, you know what? That might be a good gift. He gets married 4 days after Christmas, so Christmas and the wedding, it's all one and the same.
That would be that's perfect. It's personal, it's sweet. And then homesick candles. You may have seen these in boutiques. I've seen them all over, but you can go online and order them, and you can get one that has the scent of like your favorite city or your state. But they also have a couple this year that caught my eye. The scent of KFC buttery biscuits.
Heyo.
That's one of their candles. They have the Star Wars Millennium Falcon. So if you've ever wondered what that smells like, they have those. And then the Barbie Mojo Dojo Casa House candle, if you were a Barbie fan.
Yes.
But those are around $20. So they have over 200 different candle scents and products, which I think is
nothing says I love you like the scent of buttery biscuits.
That's exactly right. And then if you have a special someone that you're wanting to give jewelry to, there is a fine jewelry store called Mora Jewelry in North Carolina. You can go on there and find really their unique, very modern pieces that you don't see everywhere else. So I love that. And they had a couple of even more casual pieces for under $200. So that would be worth a look. And then also, I think we should take a moment and thank the Amish this year for their contributions.
I love that you have thought this through, because you're like, they helped us win the election. We are going to help them with our Christmas list.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think if you've ever owned anything that was Amish made, you know how well made and like thoughtful the gifts are. So there's a company called lapstoys.com, and they make handcrafted wooden toys and children's furniture. Now, again, these are a bit of a higher price point because they are handcrafted and that sort of thing, but they're designed to last from generation to generation. So they have like a beautiful dollhouse that's foldable. And I think it's over $200, but it's one of those things that will stay in your family, you know, that you'll pass down. So I think that's really neat. And then also there is a gourmet popcorn company that is Amish called Emma's Gourmet Popcorn. And they have really yummy flavors like birthday cake, Amish peanut butter, chocolate cranberry almond, and you can get a 6-pack gift box for $26.
Popcorn is my favorite food group. Hilary didn't even know it, but she's literally like
I know what
making
to
a
get
list for me right now. This is
I know
incredible.
exactly what to get you. And then let's talk about MAGA gifts.
Yes.
There are
Everybody is going to want
It's
a
the
MAGA
season.
gift.
Yes.
Everybody is out there doing the MAGA dance, so everybody needs a MAGA gift.
Yes, and there are a bunch. And I've got to say, the place where I found the most unique MAGA gifts was on Etsy. There are so many individual sellers on Etsy. There is a dancing Trump ornament for $6. That's a steal, and he's doing the little, the dance or whatever. You can also get a Trump sequin pillow on Etsy where you rub your hand across it and Donald's face appears.
So good.
That's $25. I mean, that's such a fun
Mildly
one.
disturbing, that one. Yes.
Now, if you want to get a little more, because a lot of people do gag gifts for Christmas or white elephant, you can get Kamala Harris toilet paper from the official Trump 2024 store.
That is a fun white elephant gift.
This is $20, but you can
So
use it
good.
however you wish. And then on the ornament tip too, there was a Trump trash truck ornament, which I think is really cute and pretty funny. There is also from MAGA.com a garbage hat. You can get that for $32. And then if you want something that's a little bit of a classier MAGA gift, the hotelcollection.com, I'm sure you've seen the Hotel Collection candles, and they have like linens and things like that. And they're very nice, and they're luxury candles, but you can get the Make America Great Again candle for $20, which I think is a really great price.
And I just got another thing that was MAGA that is very easy to get. It's like $4. A sticker, though, of Donald Trump at McDonald's waving goodbye. If you just want to add that in on top of a present and like put it with the ribbon or whatnot, it's a nice little touch that's out there that's so easy to do, but it's going to bring a smile to everyone's face.
Absolutely. Who wouldn't want that? And I looked online too. One of the most popular gifts, it looks like, is the gold MAGA hats this year, like the actual gold hat or the black hat with the gold on it. So that's also a popular one that I think we're going to see a lot of. But I will post a list. There's like a working document of North Carolina businesses that people can look at, and you can see there's clothing stores and home goods. There was one that I forgot to mention that is a skincare products company, and they make balms and creams and lotions, and they make a specific one for people who have tattoos, which I thought was really interesting. So if you've got someone in your life that is a tattoo lover or recently got a tattoo, they have things like that.
Gift.
So yeah, just interesting things. So if we can support some of those businesses in North Carolina as well as the Amish, I think that would be nice to do this season.
Peterson, have you started any of your Christmas shopping yet?
Yes.
Whoa.
I just spent the last 10 minutes thinking deeply about what gifts to buy. So this is great.
That's your start, though?
We've all begun. Yes.
That's your start?
I've begun.
There you go.
He's mentally begun.
Because the men,
I'm on my way. Thank you, Hilary.
Hilary to help with the list. Thanks so much.
I love this idea of the North Carolina thing, too.
Yes,
So important.
North Carolina. I'm so glad that you did that, and we'll post that list as well. Hilary, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me on.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back to wrap up the show right after this. Holiday cheer. It's all continuing, Matthew. We were talking about it at this point in the show yesterday, the Christmas spirit. We're going to have our Blaze Christmas party tonight. You started off the show by saying you wanted Bitcoin for Christmas. I don't know that that's really going to happen for you. We can put it out there, though, that, tell your family if that's what you want. But Christmas is in the air.
Can someone just put 3 or 4 Bitcoins into my stocking? Just a few Bitcoins in my stocking. Yes. I would love that. I'd be okay with that. Yes.
That's good. I would also love to see our coworker and friend Steve Deace running for Senate there in Iowa against Joni Ernst. He's thrown it out there online. He said if the people demand it, he will do it. That would be a great Christmas gift.
I think that Senator Steve would be my favorite senator by far. I would definitely assist in that campaign. I think that would be more than hilarious.
I also love that the first time that he said it, he said, by the way, I'm just going to keep my podcast like Ted Cruz does.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not going to give that up. He's not going to stop doing the show if he somehow does end up in Washington, D.C. But this is what we've been waiting for, the establishment versus MAGA. Let's have this fight out in the open, because at some point, if we're going to take back the country, this has to happen. This is all part of the process.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of peeling the scab off, or whatever disgusting metaphor you want to use, right, is going on now, where people are talking in public in a large-scale, broad-based way about how there is an establishment and it needs to knock it off. So there's more awareness of that now, and more Republicans talking about it directly and specifically.
We're going to try and use some better analogies for you than peeling off the scab for you next week. Don't forget to go through and subscribe to your podcast platform here, and we will see you back here on Monday night.